Hi, honeys. We're back. I know I've been a little MIA for a couple months. It was a lot. So I just kind of wanted to sit down with you guys and just talk about it. Honestly, I went through a miscarriage and they're not spoke about nearly enough. I am tired of the stigma that miscarriages are a taboo subject and you can't talk about it and nobody wants to hear. Like, I went through my miscarriage in January. It's now June. I It's been an experience that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. It's something that I never even knew the capacity of it. You hear people say they've had a miscarriage, and of course you're sad and you're sorry for them. But until I had experienced it, I did not know the severity of a miscarriage. And the more I have spoke about it, the more I have spoke to people who have been through them, the more I have spoke just it's hard, okay? And not every miscarriage is the same. Not everyone goes through the same things. There is no easier route than the other. They are all terrible, they all suck. But I just want to share my experience in case this has happened to someone else. And I honestly just wish people would talk about their miscarriages. People would not feel like they have to hide in the shadows and not feel like you can't talk about it. And I'm guilty of it. I felt like I couldn't talk about it with people because I was like, well, nobody wants to hear about this. Nobody wants to hear about this sad thing. Nobody wants to, like, I didn't want people to feel bad for me. I just wanted it to be talked about so that there could be more resources, because I personally feel like there's not enough outlet for women going through this. And yeah, we'll get into it. So let's just give you a little backstory. So we found out we were pregnant November of 2024. It was like November 5th. We found out we were pregnant. We were so excited. We couldn't wait. We had been trying, we had really wanted a baby. And we were telling everyone. We told so many people. Um, we found out at 3 weeks. My due date is July 21st of 2025. So no one talked to me that day. I will be out of commission. But we were so excited. We were so naive to the whole thing. Like, we had never been pregnant before. We didn't know anything. And we went for our 8-week scan, which was on our 1 year anniversary. And they said that they couldn't find a heartbeat. But they told us to not lose hope because we could just be earlier than we thought. Because, right, like, it's hard to actually determine your exact time and where you are until they see baby. So I was a wreck. But we held it together. We didn't really tell anybody. And we were like, no, there's hope that the baby's okay. And they're right, maybe it was just too early. And I still had symptoms. I was nauseous. I had the morning sickness. I was extremely tired. My boobs were massive and in so much pain. So we were like, okay, we're hopeful. Maybe it's fine. Maybe everything's okay. So we wait. We are getting ready to leave for my best friend's wedding. We went home for Christmas. It was like December 19th. We go back in for a follow-up ultrasound, and there was no heartbeat. But they said that they couldn't actually medically diagnose me with a miscarriage because from my first ultrasound until my second ultrasound, it had to be 11 days. But I was leaving the country on day 11, and it was also a Saturday, so I had to go in at 10 days. And because it wasn't the 11 days, they wouldn't diagnose me with a miscarriage. And I had said, well, I will come in tomorrow morning bright and early. And they said, well, we're not open on a Saturday. You'll have to cancel your trip. And I was like, I'm not canceling my best friend from childhood. I'm not missing her wedding. I'm a bridesmaid. That's not even that wasn't even up for a debate. I was like, you're ridiculous. So we didn't cancel the trip. I went on the trip. I got so violently ill on the plane. I already travel bad as is, but then being pregnant and going through a miscarriage at the same time, terrible. I was dying. Then I caught the norovirus that was going around. Also, was took me out over Christmas. I missed Christmas. It was just a really bad time. So they had told me at the doctor's office. I was like, so what can I expect? What am I supposed to do? Like, what? I don't really know if like I'm pregnant, but I'm not. Like the baby's not viable. What's happening? And the doctor was like, well, your body will naturally pass it on its own. It will take about 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from that day, right? She didn't give a lot of guidance or anything on how this is going to feel. She just said it's a bad period. She gave me nothing. I would not recommend that doctor's office to anybody because they had 3 locations. I went to all 3 locations and they were all horrible. She gave no advice. She didn't really have any sort of like, she's just like, do you have any questions? I'm sobbing. I have no questions. I can't even think right now. Anyway, we go on the trip. I get really sick, but I don't have the miscarriage. The whole trip, I was just throwing up every single day, right? And in my head, a little piece of me was still wanting to hold on to hope that the baby was okay, and I had to have another ultrasound when I came home. So that was December 19th. I come home January, like 5th or 6th. I don't remember the date. I think it was the 6th that I got home. I go for an ultrasound on January 8th, and they say, no, your baby is definitely not viable. You know, you are having a miscarriage. And I was like, okay, this is now 3 times I have sat in a waiting room with expecting mothers and people with their big bellies and their ultrasound photos, and 3 times I had to hear, your baby has no heartbeat. Like, and it was 3 times in the span of a month. Like, it was 3 times back to back to back because our first ultrasound was December 9th. So to January 8th, I have now had 3 ultrasounds, and you have now told me 3 times that my baby doesn't have a heartbeat. Great, fabulous, I love this, but there's still a baby inside of me. So I'm like, I'm still pregnant. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, my body hasn't, my body hasn't realized that the baby's not viable. Like, I can't just keep walking around with this. Like surely that can't be healthy. And again, the doctors were not very nice. They were not very informative. So she said, oh yeah, you're having a miscarriage. Doctor will be in to speak to you. Well, then me and my husband have to go sit in the waiting room full of expecting mothers. I'm a mess. Like, I can't keep it together in this doctor's waiting room. And then the nurse practitioner comes out and says, oh, your doctor got pulled to an emergency and you're going to have to go home. And I was like, what do you mean I have to go home? I need to figure out what's going on. This is like, I have now, for 2.5 weeks, been having no, it was almost 3 weeks. I have now, for 3 weeks almost, been having a miscarriage. My body has not passed it. Surely this can't be healthy for me. What the fuck am I supposed to do? And she's like, you just have to go home. She'll call you. Like, is that fine? And I was like, I mean, I need to talk to someone. I wish in the moment I had been more stubborn and more pushy and been like, that's not acceptable. But there was so many emotions going on that I couldn't even think straight. And my husband, he was trying to push for us, but I was getting so overwhelmed that I was like, I just want to leave now. Like, I want to leave. So we leave. We had to go pick up our dogs because we just came home from vacation. We do that. We go through the day. We'd both taken the day off of work because we just couldn't handle that. It was like a Thursday or a Wednesday. I have no idea. I think it was a Wednesday. So we go home. The office shuts at 5. It's like 4:45. I call them and I'm like, what the fuck? I haven't heard anything. And they're like, oh, she'll call you. She's in an emergency. And I was like, is there no other doctor that can look at my ultrasound and say, this is where to go? I was like, she's the only one, because there's no way. It's a massive office. And they're like, no, she'll be the one that has to do it. So whatever. She calls me eventually. And again, yeah, I'm confirming you're having a miscarriage. And at this point, I'm just like, obviously, like, right? Like, I've been told 4 times now, like, clearly we know that's what's happening. What do I do? How do I do this? And she was like, well, you can wait and your body will pass it naturally. And my husband got upset. And he was like, she was supposed to pass this 3 weeks ago. You can't keep telling her that. Her body clearly hasn't realized that this baby is not viable. Like, you need to do something else. Like, she's sick. She's like, I was so sick. Like, I was throwing up 24/7. Like, it was an awful experience. And she's like, well, you know, you can opt to take the pill, or you can opt to take have a D&C, have the surgery. And I said, okay, well, what do you think is my best choice? Like, you're the fucking doctor. And she's like, well, you have to make the decision. Why? Why did I have to make that decision? Because now I have to carry the guilt that I chose that when I did. Like, I didn't choose that. I would have much rathered have my child, but instead I had to choose between taking a pill so my body would expel it or having a surgery to expel it from my body. And I'm just like, so I picked the pill because I was like, I'm not doing a surgery. She calls it in, that's fine. I go to the pharmacy and I pick it up the next day, and I get grilled at this fucking Walgreens. And I don't know what it was any of that pharmacist's business, but I got questioned, like, why are you taking this? Are you pregnant? And I said, yes, I am. Well, then why are you taking this? And I was like, over, like, the big speaker in a Walgreens. And I'm just like, I don't know that it's any, like, I didn't say this, but I'm thinking, like, how is this any of her business? Like, my doctor prescribed a pill. I'm here to pick it up. Here's my money. Have a good fucking day, honestly. So I tell her, I'm having a miscarriage. And she's like, oh, so you were told to take this? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. Basically throws it at me. I was like, okay. So we do that, right? I have to take the pill. They told me, bad period. Fucking bullshit. If anyone ever tells you a miscarriage is a bad period, please slap them. Because in no way was this a bad period. I had been pregnant for 12 weeks. I had now been pregnant 12 weeks. Now, the baby, yes, was not the size of a 12-week fetus. I think the baby had grown to 7 weeks, and then it had shrunk back down, like, because it, you know, had died, and was now maybe like a 6-week fetus size. So it wasn't obviously a 12-week-old fetus, but I had now been pregnant for 12 weeks. So we do the medicine. They said, your husband has to be home with you to watch you for 3 days because that's how long it should take for you to pass. I'm like, okay. So we take it on a Friday. Friday, I'm okay. Not too much pain. We took it Friday morning. I'm okay. Friday night, I woke up in the middle of the night and it was pretty bad. So I was like, okay, like, it was like cramping, bleeding, you know, the whole thing. We get through Saturday. Saturday was kind of the same vibe. I had a heating pad. We called in a lot of food. We watched our favorite TVs. I basically slept in the couch, like, whole thing. Monday, my husband has to go back to work. He goes to work. I'm thinking that most of it's over. You know, I'm just cramping and bleeding a little bit, but the bleeding hadn't slowed down at all. So he goes to work, and I, like, midday hit. No, it wasn't Monday. It was Tuesday, I'm sorry. He was home, I think, Monday. I think he took Friday, Monday off. So, because it was the first day he went back to work, I'm pretty sure it was the Tuesday. So, let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're now on day 5 of this miscarriage. Like, I was told 3 days and just be a bad period. So, we're on day 5, and I'm thinking this is it. You know, I was supposed to go back to work on the Tuesday, but I had told my boss I just need the extra day because I thought that's exactly what it was. Monday, I was like, okay, we're getting through it. I don't feel as bad. I actually had a lot of energy on Monday, and I was just bleeding. And I was like, I can go to work on Tuesday. This is, like, I'm going to take Tuesday to just get myself back together. I'm going to wash my hair. I'm going to have a self-care day. And we're really going to get myself back into, you know, I need to get back to the routine. Well, Tuesday midday hits. I'm off work. I'm laying on the couch, and I was like, okay, I think I should go take the dogs out, whatever. And all of a sudden, I am in the worst pain I have ever experienced in my life. Like, I cannot move. I cannot get off the couch. The blood is just, it's everywhere. And I have this radiating, burning, fire, like, excruciating pain all the way around my lower back to my lower stomach and all the way down my pelvis. And I start freaking out because I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what the hell is this? Like, this is day 5. I thought we were done. So I immediately called my sister-in-law and I was like, I'm not okay. Like, I need you. I'm not okay. And she couldn't come over, which, you know, everyone has a life. So, whatever. She couldn't come over because she wasn't home. Or she was, but she was doing something. I think she was working. I don't remember. But she wasn't able to come over. And so she was like, I'll stay on the phone with you. Like, I can't come over, but I will stay on the phone with you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I'm laying on the couch and I am going through it, and I'm asking her, and she's a nurse, and I'm like, is this normal? What am I supposed to do? Like, I can't do this. And she's like, this is probably normal, but call your doctor and just tell them, like, ask. She was like, because day 5, I am a little concerned. I said, okay. So I call my doctor, and my doctor basically was like, yeah, take 600 milligrams of ibuprofen every 4 hours, and if it gets bad enough, go to the ER. Are you kidding me? I was like, what's bad enough? And she's like, well, if you're, you know, she tells you the whole, if you're soaking through, I think it was, I don't remember it now, but it was like 2 maxi pads an hour or something like that, go to the ER because you're losing too much blood. I said, okay, but as far as pain, yeah, you can go for pain. Okay, we all know if you've been to the ER in America, you sit in your waiting room for fucking at 4 hours, you go back, you're probably doped up on pain medicine, they go back, they give you an IV drip with more pain medicine, and then say bye-bye and send a $5,000 bill to your house. I wasn't doing that. I was also alone. I also couldn't drive. I was bleeding so badly that I couldn't sit in a waiting room. I was laying on my couch with, I had 2 heating pads because my sister-in-law had given me hers as well, thank God. I had one wrapped around my back and one wrapped around my stomach. And I had a hot water bottle just like pushed down as heavy as I could. Like, it was undescribable. It was like no pain I've ever felt before. And then I was like, well, I have to go to the bathroom because, you know, I have to change, I'm bleeding. I had to sit on the toilet for like 2 hours because I could not stop bleeding. And so they're like, well, how many maxi pads have you went through? And I was like, I don't know, I haven't been able to move. So anyways, I call my sister-in-law back just so I have someone on the phone. I call Matthew. I'm like, you need to get home and you need to get home now. So he leaves work, but he is an hour away from my house. Like, he doesn't work close. So he leaves work. I'm like panicking because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm laying on the bathroom floor. It is the worst thing I've ever felt. The pressure, the pain, insanity. My sister-in-law had to go. So she was like, I love you, you know, Matthew will be home soon, I have to go, I have stuff to, I was like, okay, I understand. So we get off the phone. Plus, at that point, I also was like non-verbal anyway, so she didn't, like, I was screaming, like, I had to put a towel in my mouth just because the pain was so bad. I have no words. So I call my husband and I was just like, he's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need you, and I need you now. He comes home. On his way home, I call him and I'm like, I need my mum. Because I was just like, I know he couldn't get home for an hour, and my mum was home and she only lived 20 minutes away, and I was like, get her, I need her now. I need my mum. So he calls her, she gets to my house. I'm on the bathroom floor, and Matthew came in, and, you know, he's trying to get me. He's like, come on, you need to get up. Like, you're just laying on the floor. But it was because I was sweating so, like, oh my God, the sweats were so bad. I was by myself, so I couldn't stand. I didn't want to fall over. I was overheating because I had all the heating pads on me. I was sweating profusely, so I laid on the bathroom floor because it was tile and it was keeping me cool. And so he comes in and he's like, baby, gotta get up, come on. Like, and he's just laying on the floor with me, and he's like, what do you need? And I just, like, I couldn't even speak. And I was like, I don't know, like, I just can't. So then my mom gets there and she's like, okay, come on, we're gonna get you up. So, you know, both of them, they get me up off the floor. They get me because it was so bad, I couldn't even focus. So at this point, I've now been going through this for like 6-7 hours. And they get me up and they're like, how are you? And I was like, I have to go to the toilet again. So I go, I get myself all fixed up, you know, they get me out to the couch and they're like, okay, they make me a cup of tea and something to eat so I can take more medicine, because at this point I couldn't make anything for myself, so I hadn't taken any pain medicine in like 8 hours. So they get me some food, they get me some pain medicine, and I start to feel better, and I was like, okay, it's getting later in the night, we're fine. We get me, you know, I'm still bleeding pretty bad, but the cramps, I'm getting through it because I've got pain medicine in my system, and so it was good. And so I told my husband, you know, you need to call my boss. I was like, I will not be going into work tomorrow after this because I don't know. So he calls my boss and tells him, and oh my God, thank God for my boss. Honestly, there are so many things wrong with my miscarriage, you know, the medical field, my doctors, they were awful. Um, but my people around me were so supportive. Like my mom, my husband, my friends, my sister-in-law, my boss, like they were just so supportive that like it helped. So he calls them and tells them, look, she can't come in. This is not happening. And it was now going to be the Wednesday that I wasn't going to be going in for, and my boss was like, honestly, take the week. Tell her to not even worry about it. She is fine. Please tell her to just take the week. So I didn't go back to work until the next Tuesday because that next Monday was a holiday. And so then the next day, I was just on the couch, recovering. And then eventually it got better. That was the worst of it. So that was day 5. And I then bled for 16 days. I bled for 16 days. The pain subsided by the Friday, I would say. So, like a whole week from when I first took the medicine, the pain had subsided. I was still taking a lot of medicine, but I didn't necessarily have to have the heating pad and be laying down all times. Like I could get up, I could walk around, and I managed to just go outside with the dogs on the Friday because obviously like my husband had to go back to work and he wasn't getting paid while he was off. So he had to go back to work and I was with the dog, so I was able to get myself out of the house, which helped. Like I sat on our patio, got some fresh air, made myself just feel better, took like a whole shower. So I managed to get through it, obviously. And my friends were amazing. They distracted me, they took me out, they were like, let's do stuff, once I got better. And I went back to work and no one said anything, no one questioned me, it was very, no one even, it was nice. But it was the worst thing I have ever been through in my entire life. And I just wish that people would stop downplaying miscarriages and stop acting like they're not painful and that it's just a bad period. And I don't know, maybe for some people it is a bad period. I don't know, maybe for them it's not as extreme. Maybe it is just 3 days and you're good to go. But it is still awful because you are still aware that all of this blood is because you're losing your baby. Like you are aware of it. And it's horrible. And I also found we had nothing. Like no one gave us ultrasound photos. No one gave us anything from all of the stuff that we went to. All we had was a pregnancy test. And I had taken like bump pics, like befores. And I saw that you're allowed to request your ultrasound. So I requested my ultrasound. I went and picked it up. It was a bad idea to do it as soon as I did. I did it very fresh after the miscarriage, but I am so grateful that I have that because I can see our baby. I can see, like, you have something to show. Like, it's hard when all you have is a pregnancy test because when it fades, you're like, I'll have this stick as I peed on. But having the ultrasound, like, yeah, it was the worst thing. And I'm just so grateful for my husband and my support system and my friends and family that really cared for me and really checked in on me and made sure that I didn't need anything and that I wasn't alone. And I'm honestly so grateful for the friends and family that have listened to me talk about it and the ones who are understanding and are just like, do you want to talk about it? I'm here to listen because it's so hard and it's such a lonely experience, and I would not wish it on anybody. And I think also I have now got a new doctor, and one of the hardest things too was going into another doctor's office and having to then explain what had happened. And because that was the other thing, my old doctor, there was no follow-up ultrasound. Like afterwards, there was no checking that I had, expelled everything, because there are a lot of miscarriages where people don't expel everything, and that you can get infections from that, and then you have to have the surgery. Like there's so many. So my doctor didn't schedule a follow-up ultrasound, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I found a new doctor and I got a follow-up ultrasound and I was okay. They found some things that were just like weird, but they think it wasn't, ended up being nothing because I've had 2 more ultrasounds since the miscarriage, and they were like, it looks a little, off, let's schedule you again. They thought it was PCOS. It turns out it's not PCOS. It was just, they think it was all my hormones. My body was still trying to regulate, which is crazy because it was like 3 months after. My body was still trying to figure out, or no, it wasn't. It was like a month after. It was only, that was my follow-up was 3 months after. It was like a month and a half after, and my body was just not there yet. So, but I'm okay, and it worked out. But having to sit in the doctor's office and just like explain, like, you have to fill out the form that says how many pregnancies have you had, and then how many children do you have. And again, it's something so small that people probably don't even think anything about that, but that sucked. That sucked so bad, having to fill out, been pregnant, and I have no living children. And also, like, I had to explain the whole situation to my doctor, and I will say, she was a lot more compassionate, she was a lot more understanding, and she explained so many things that my other doctor didn't. Like, I didn't know that the pill that I took could permanently damage your cervix. I wasn't told that by my doctor, who prescribed it to me. She didn't give me any side effects. She didn't tell me any of this. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I probably still would have picked it because I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Like, what's better surgery? Like, I don't know. But, like, you didn't warn me that taking this medicine could permanently damage my cervix. That place was ridiculous. But my new doctor, you know, she was like, so, when did you give birth? And it took me back. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I didn't. I told you I had a miscarriage. And she was like, yes, but when did you give birth? And I was like so taken aback by that question and just so confused. And I was just like, do you mean when like the miscarriage was? Because it was, you know, January 10th. And she was just like, well, yeah. She's like, that was when you gave birth. She's like, you gave birth that day. And I was just like, wow. Like, it just puts another perspective in your mind. And then I was like, the fact that they call that a bad period when you are giving birth it's ridiculous. Honestly, I have so much anger for that, my whole experience and the way that I was treated. But it's just, it doesn't make sense to me the way they treat miscarriages here, or anywhere for that matter. But, you know, she's like, no, you gave birth. And I was telling my sister-in-law this, and I was like, she said I gave birth. And she was like, well, yeah, you did, technically, you know, 12 weeks pregnant. And I was just like, and she was like, when you called me that day, she was like, I wasn't going to tell you while we were on the phone because you were already in so much pain. And she was like, but because we were on FaceTime, she was like, when you FaceTimed me, and she was like, the way your face was and the pain that you were describing, she was like, you were in labor. You were in active labor. And I was like, they don't tell you that. They do not tell you that when you are in the doctor. They don't tell you you're going to feel every bit of this. You are going to feel like you're going to need to give birth. You need to, I felt like I had to push on that day. And the way that it was on day 5 after I took the medicine, day 5 is ridiculous. I literally felt, and that was when I went to the bathroom and finally got off the couch and then ended up laying on the floor, because I was like, I have to push. Like, it literally felt like that. It was the most painful experience. And then, of course, sitting on a toilet feeling that, it's like the pain is just radiating, and it is so, I don't know, people downplay miscarriages so much, and I'm just like, they are not something that just is a bad period and you can take some ibuprofen and wear a pad and call it a day. It is not that. It's not at all. It is so far from that. It's not even funny. And so I technically gave birth on January 15th, and it's hard to say that out loud. But I truly don't think I would have made it through that if it wasn't for my husband and my friends and my support system and my family just really being there for me and really showing up when I needed them to. And it's horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, actually. Like, It's the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with, and you carry so much guilt and, you know, so much pain, and it doesn't go away. Like, I'm here 6 months later still crying about it. Like, it doesn't change it. But I just kind of wanted to talk about it because people don't. It's so not a talked about subject, and it's so hard because then when you go through it, you feel so lonely because you're like, no one told me this. No one told me it was going to be this bad. I will say, actually, I have to back up a second. I have a friend, and she's been through a miscarriage, and she told me, she was like, did they tell you anything? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you. She was like, it is going to hurt, right? She's like, you're going to feel this crazy pain. She did actually, now that thinking back, she did tell me about the pain on my side, and she's like, and you're going to bleed, and it's going to be really bad, and you're going to be in the worst pain of your life. And I was like, okay, but I literally just hit me just now that she had told me that, and I didn't even register that had been a thing. But it's just, even though someone tells you this is going to be the worst thing and the most pain you've ever felt in your life, it still doesn't really register how painful it's going to be, right? Because I have endometriosis, and I have had painful periods my entire life. I have always had to use a heating pad. I've always had to have loads and loads of medicine because I just have excruciating pain when I'm on my period. And so I thought, well, can handle that every month, right? No. Which also probably made it 10 times worse. It's so confusing, and women's health and pregnancy and miscarriage and loss, it's not talked about enough, and it should be, honestly. It should be talked about. It shouldn't be a taboo subject. And yes, of course, if you don't want to talk about your miscarriage because you get upset, it makes you angry, it makes you sad, it makes you jealous of other people, it makes you whatever it makes you, of course you might not want to talk about it. But if you do want to talk about it, please. Talk about it with anyone. Talk about it with your partner, your friends, your family, because why not? People get to go and have 20 kids and they get to talk about their experience. Why don't we get to talk about ours? What, because it makes other people uncomfortable? That you don't want to hear that I lost my baby? Like, that's not fair. But I just feel like if you're a talker and a yapper like I am and you want to talk about it, you should. You should be able to. You should be allowed to. No one should ever make you feel like you have to be quiet and that you can't speak about it, because it's your experience and your feelings are valid. And if you cry, you cry. But if you have a really strong support system, you'll get through it. It's the only advice I have for that. With that being said, if you have ever gone through a miscarriage, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry that you've had to go through that pain and feel that and deal with that loss. And if you ever need to talk to anyone, you can always write in. You can always send a message to the Girl Do It For You page. You can always message me. Always, please, don't feel like you can't talk to anyone. Talk to people. Please. Don't internalize your pain. And I am so sorry that you've dealt with that. And if you haven't, I'm so happy that you haven't. I'm so happy for you. Genuinely. Because it is awful. And I know not everyone's experience is the same, but it still sucks to deal with. It still sucks to mentally carry that. Whether it was a physical pain or just mentally, it is still awful. No matter what. But I love you, honeys, and I will see you guys next Friday. Goodbye.